That was our cue.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, everyone. I'm Bridget Nichols. I'm a professor in the Department of Marketing, Economics, and Sports Business. So I know some of you from my previous classes and current ones. And I'm really just here to introduce the speaker for today. This is Paul Jackson from Procter & Gamble, and he's going to talk about sports and entertainment marketing from the perspective of P&G. As you can imagine, they engage in quite a bit of this, and he'll tell you a little bit about their strategy and the types of things that they think about, and whether or not you're interested in a career in sports or marketing or brands or entertainment. There's probably a little bit of something for everyone in here. You can talk about finance issues if you want. What does it cost? Right? So I've seen parts of this presentation before, a lot of really interesting stuff, and I think if they want to ask questions in between.
Oh, please. Ask anything, anytime.
Okay. So I'm just going to sit down. I'll let Paul take over and go from there.
Okay. Yep. Thanks, Bridget. Thanks for having me. The more questions you ask, the funner this will be for both of us, right? I am not entertaining enough to sit here and wow you for an hour. What I do have is a couple slides to kind of run you through in a couple videos. I'm going to expose you to what Procter & Gamble does in sports and entertainment marketing. Expose. That doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it best practices. That doesn't make it stupid. It's just what Procter & Gamble does. So I hope you find that a little bit of interest. Again, please ask lots of questions. I'll also save a lot of time at the end as well. The flow will be, I'll talk a little bit about the company for those who maybe not be from Cincinnati and not have a good feel for it, just to get you grounded on that. I'll talk a little bit about my journey through NKU into Procter & Gamble. And then we'll kind of get into specifics. We've chosen kind of two areas to focus our sports marketing area, and I'll kind of build upon those. I have some commercials that I can show, some videos to kind of spice it up just a little bit. Okay? Is everybody in the right room? Is that kind of worth your time? If not, I will not be offended. There's the door. It will not offend me in the least. You go out in the rain. Okay, well, let me talk a little bit about our company first, just to kind of ground you for those who may not be. We sell a bunch of brands. We're a family of brands. Procter & Gamble is a parent company. We sell about 300 brands globally. The ones you would recognize here, Tide, Bounty, Charmin. We just sold the dog food business. We used to be in the drug business or paper products. We do a lot. So we're a big family of brands. Again, 300 brands. We do business in about 180 countries. So we're kind of global, kind of do things everywhere. We're set up to where the brands are profit centers. So if you're working on the Tide brand, that in and of itself is a profit center. So the brand, the marketing people in that business, they're kind of kings and queens of that brand. They're responsible for the profit and loss. They make the final decisions, et cetera, et cetera. We're a family of brands. You hear a lot about brand management. We kind of charted that years ago, but it simply means the brands are their own profit centers, and we're the company, the parent company is kind of the umbrella there. My personal background, long story short, I'm local. We're in Campbell County now. The sister county is Kenton County. I grew up in the southern part of that on a dairy and tobacco farm. I went to Simon Kenton High School, for those of you who are local. Then I came to NKU. I was just basic operations management major. I worked my way through school with United Parcel Service over on Guest Street, downtown in Cincinnati. I threw the boxes for about 2.5 years. In the second 2.5 years I was with them, I got into the part-time management program. They have very structured part-time versus full-time management. It was fun times. I worked 3 in the morning till 9 in the morning, supervising the crews that loaded the brown delivery trucks that come to your house. So school was fun. If I had a test the next day, I'd study. I'd sleep for 4 hours. I'd go to work for 6 and come to NKU and hope like heck some of it still took. And try to get through the exams and then go home and kind of sleep a little bit more. But it was a great experience. When I was a senior, I had like 19 people working for me. So it was a wonderful experience. Look on the resume. They wanted me to stay. I kind of didn't like them. Back then they kind of ran it like the military. I'm a little bit softer from the management style, didn't like it. And a woman at church heard that I was looking, and she got me an interview at P&G. She was dating one of the HR managers. It was like classic divine intervention. So I got an interview and got hired. That was 31 years ago that I joined Procter & Gamble. The first 15 years were customer service logistics. Our customers, Kroger, Walmart, things like that. You guys are consumers. We also have things called shoppers. So there's customers, shoppers, and consumers. Did that for about 15 years, and then I got into the purchases organization. So we buy stuff. We're a company with about $80 billion in sales. That means our purchases organization helps the company maximize the value of about $60 billion. $60 billion in expenditures. That's what our organization does. There's 1,200 of us in the purchases organization out of a company of about 120,000 people. So why am I standing here? I spent about 8 years as the purchases person, not the marketer, although I worked very much with the marketers, and I'll talk you through that, in the entertainment space for the company. Had a very unique job. I had 1,200 buyers wanting my job for 8 years, because I was the only one during those 8 years who was a purchase organization playing in the space. When we bought the Gillette company about 10 years ago, or about 8 years ago, they had a sports marketing director. They wanted to put a multifunctional team around him. I won the lottery and got the job to be the buyer on his lead team. And it kind of went from there. Procter & Gamble, our family of brands, we're the world's largest buyer of corporate talent. So what does that mean? Well, CoverGirl, all the beauty brands, all the Pantene commercials, things like that, all the celebrities and stuff, somebody has to go make those deals. We do that. Every commercial has music behind it. We have to go do those deals. We're big into the Olympics. We're big in the National Football League. We have FIFA deals. We've had Major League Baseball deals. We've had cricket deals in India. You name it, kind of we've done it historically. Well, hopefully a purchases person is helping find maximum value for that deal, and then the marketers make hay with it once we make the deal for them. So that's my experience in this space. I'll be very transparent. I left the space about a year ago. I wanted something else, but still kind of semi-fluent in this. There's a guy named Matt Hollenkamp who's been coming over, I think, talking to some of your classes. Actually, some of you may have heard his spiel, and some of you may recognize these slides. But again, I spent 8 years in that space. So this will be, the slides are sports focused, but if you want to get into some of the entertainment kind of stuff as well, happy to answer any of those questions as well. All right, talking fast and a lot. Any questions? Nope? All right, it gets more interesting, I promise. Okay. Who, what, and how? Is everybody in here a marketer of some kind? Yes, no? Okay. Just to be marketing, whether it's sports marketing or non-sports marketing, can be broken down into 3 elements. Who, what, and how. Very simply. Who do you want to talk to? If you're selling sunscreen, you don't want to talk to people in Alaska, right? You want to talk to people in Florida, all right? So who is your target audience? Your demographic, your psychographic, all that kind of fun stuff. There's a ton of data about that. Obviously, what's your message? All right, if you're Bounty towels for us, you're the quicker picker-upper. If you're BMW cars, you're the ultimate driving machine. And you've got your point of difference. The marketers call it a point of difference. Why buy my brand versus someone else's? Who you want to talk to? What is it you want to tell them? And where sports marketing comes into play is the how. How do you want to talk to your consumers? All right, in marketing, how do you talk to your consumers? Anyone? How do you talk to them? What vehicles are out there? Television.
Social media. Social media.
Social media.
Print.
Print.
Radio.
Radio. Digital. It's sports marketing. It's just a how. In its simplest form, that's what it is. If you're a brand manager running the Tide business, you sit back and say, I got this pot of money for advertising. You know very crisply your who and your what. What are your how options? My job was to take to the brands options, sports marketing options that were better ROI than their other options. Because if it wasn't, I'm a stockholder of the company. If my option in sports wasn't better than what they're doing today, I'd say chase me out of your office. Do the right stuff. But sports marketing done well can be very, very effective. Like anything, done poorly, you're going backwards instead of forward. That's just kind of about everything in marketing. Why sports? I think the underlying word in the third one there is the big one. If you're trying to connect consumers to your brand, well, you know what's going on now in the North American sports world? March Madness. Is there any passion involved in March Madness? I mean, it's insane. If you're not a basketball fan, you kind of see what's going on, right? Last second shots, buzzer beaters, and the coach broke his Achilles tendon, jumping up and down. You know, there's a ton of passion going on in that. If you can use that passion to talk about your brand with consumers, that's gold. And we sell toilet paper, for God's sake, at Procter & Gamble. You know, it's hard to talk to people about toilet paper and feminine hygiene products and laundry detergent, right? And that's the challenge for us in sports marketing. We're not Nike, we're not Adidas, we're not generic. Clean hair doesn't make you a faster runner, right? Bright teeth, crest, doesn't make you a faster swimmer, all right? But we talk about sports, and we'll show you how. It's really challenging, and again, in a place like us, but done well, again, it can be nothing short of magic. So again, we want to use that passion that people have for sports to talk about your brand. I used to say, somewhat cynically, somewhat truthful, brands do sports marketing for one of three reasons. One is it's the boss's favorite sport. If he or she likes golf, they might say, we're going to be in golf, come heck or high water, go do it. I've seen it happen. I've seen some of our brands do it, unfortunately. Number two is sometimes you do it for defensive reasons. The beer sponsorship of the NFL is a big friggin' deal. And they fight each other tooth and nail for that. It's also like a $100 million a year expense, but they fight that big deal. So sometimes you do it for defensive reasons just to keep your other competitors out. The third reason, which is how I tried to push the Procter & Gamble brands was, if sports adds to the logical fit, kind of this tailwind thing that Matt talked about in the slide here. If your marketing plan is going northeast and sports takes you southwest, why are you doing sports? Sports should be consistent with what you're already doing with your marketing plan. You find a sport that fits your who, helps you tell them your what, and consistently takes you where you want to go, not a deviation, okay? The sports industry will take your money in a heartbeat. They have a ton of salespeople who will sell you the world and tell you it's the greatest thing, and a lot of marketers think it's fun, and they'll take your money in a heartbeat. You've got to be effective with it. This stuff can be very, very expensive. Our history in the sports world, again, when we bought Gillette, Gillette in 2006 was the last FIFA World Cup we were involved in. At that time, we were the longest running FIFA sponsor of anybody globally. So that brand has been in sports for a while. They taught us an awful lot. Gillette also is still, I think, the longest running Major League Baseball sponsor. I think we started with Major League Baseball and radio. So we've kind of been at it for a while. We used to have a lot of brands. We've had as many as 7 brands playing NASCAR. We are totally out of NASCAR now. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Tide, at the time when it dropped out about 6 years ago, next to Valvoline was the longest running NASCAR sponsor. So we've kind of been around this space for a while. Does that make us good at it? Maybe. You know, that's a relative judgmental question. But we've dabbled it. We've spent some money in this space. Okay? All right. We have made choices over the last 5 years to go big in 2 areas. Olympics and the NFL. Let's deep dive those a little bit. I should show you some videos that kind of give you the background. This thing about making choices, though, is, you know, for those of you in sports marketing or just marketing in general, you eventually got to decide how to spend your money. If you're a sports marketing and work an agency, you got to find a way to connect your brand that you're working for to the sports world. Our learnings have been pick a few and ride them hard. If you change every 2 years, it takes a year to get good at it. And then you only maximize the value for 1 year. That's what's worked for us. Pick a few and ride them hard. One of the first seminars I went to was in Chicago. When I just got in the sports marketing world, everything was new. There was an audience of like 500 people, and this guy got up. He was from M&M Mars. I will never forget this. He stood up and said, now most of you in the audience are from a property, right, trying to get his business. He said, do not waste your time giving me your business card. Oddly enough, he was NFL and NASCAR was his too. And I thought, how arrogant. You know, to sit there and tell 500 people, stay away from me, you don't want my business to go to that. In hindsight, it was brilliant. He had done his homework, he knew what worked, he knew what didn't work. And that's the key to this. Find out what works and ride it hard. Let's talk the NFL for a little bit. What's the largest global sport? Fan base. Soccer. By a big margin, by a small margin? A massive margin. Soccer rules the world. What rules North America? By a big margin? Oh yeah. It is the big dog. NASCAR has long wanted to say it and think they're the big dog, and they are big and relative. NFL rocks North America, period, end of sentence. All demographics, male, female, large, small, whatever. NFL is king, all right? In our brand, I underline the word reach. We don't do many deals, if any, it depends on what's going on, with the Reds or the Bengals. And those guys used to hate me. They're like, we've got the world's largest advertising spender in our backyard. Give me some of that money. And the brands would say, how many come to a Reds game? 25, 30,000? You know, they can run a Tide commercial and reach 10, 20, 30, 40 times that. Reach is everything in the marketing space, right? So we need reach. Our brands are national, many of them are international. Sometimes the name changes when you go international. Tide becomes Ariel. Our Always product is always around the world. But reach is everything. You want to maximize your value for your spend, okay? Numbers are all relative. The TV kind of rules the world. Here's some viewing numbers. Again, is sports, TV is the price of TV, buying airtime, is at an interesting crossroads. What's getting more expensive and what's getting less expensive and why? Anybody have a guess? Because something is going much more expensive and something is dropping like a rock, the price of it. Anybody have a feel for this? You guys looked into this yet? Sports is getting more expensive. Why would sports be getting more expensive from a buying TV time standpoint? Going to NBC and saying, I want a 30-second spot, let's don't go Super Bowl, let's go on Sunday Night Football. Why would that be more expensive than even American Idol? Maybe.
Competition?
Kinda. Think through that a little more.
Because more people are watching sports than anything else.
Thank you. And they're watching it live. Sports is appointment TV. You ever heard that term? If you're a diehard Bengals fan, are you going to tape the game, for God's sake, and watch it at 9 o'clock at night? Of course not. You know, I love House of Cards, okay? If it was aired live, I wouldn't watch it live. I'd tape it and watch it, you know, because the DVRs, you time shift, right? You time shift and watch what you want when you want without the commercials, thank you very much, kind of stuff. People do that with sports. So the price of sports is going up because everything else is dropping like a rock. Because digital is starting to eat TV's lunch. Anybody have an idea why digital is starting to eat TV's lunch? So many marketers? One very simple reason. Convenience and effectiveness. TV is yell and sell. We run a Tide commercial on TV. We have no idea if my wife is in the room who happens to buy our Tide, if the cat's in the room, if no one's in the room, the TV just happens to be on, if my grandma's in the room who doesn't, you know, it's yell and sell. You don't know who's reaching it, okay? The internet, cookies, everybody know what cookies are? Okay, marketers track you like dogs, okay? We know the profile, for those of you who don't erase your cookies, we know the profile of who's on that computer. They've been going to car sites, they've been going to this and this. They might be an Old Spice candidate. Or they're going to this and this and this, that might be a ton. That's it. So target marketing. Knowing, everybody, marketers always say, I know I waste half my dollars. I just don't know which half I'm wasting. There's a lot of truth to that. Digital really helps you go that way. In North America, we've gone from probably 1% digital percent of our budget, our marketing budget, from 1% to about 30% in 10 years. For that very simple reason. You kind of have an idea who's on the other end, and you can target it. So when you guys are on a website and suddenly this stuff comes across that interests you, it's not crazy crap, you know how that works, right? They're tracking you. There's real-time ad exchange. We can get into it. It's fascinating what they do. We participate. It's a live exchange. When you're watching that, there's in nanoseconds in the background, a computer saying, this person looks like this demographic, who wants to talk to them? You know, nanoseconds, 10 people bid on that, and the winner comes up and their ad just scrolls across. All in nanoseconds. That's going on when you're on the internet. It's called these exchanges. Why? Why do marketers love it? Because they know that you're kind of a car person. So Ford would love to talk to you. Kind of stuff. Fascinating. The TV is still a big spin. We talked about this a little bit before. You target your audience. Does sports make sense for your brand? Our Always Feminine Hygiene brand is not going to run ads in the Bengals Stadium. Feminine Hygiene loves print, right? That's when a woman likes to think about that. Not in front of the TV with her, 3 or 4 kids. Says, Mommy, what's that? We do a lot of print, right? Why? Because that's where you're comfortable reading about that and understanding the product differences and stuff like that, right? It's a concept. Does it fit? Does it make sense? All right? And again, if you're a Nike, it's a no-brainer. If you're selling toilet paper and Bounty towels, you probably have to work a little bit. Okay? The equity of your brands. Everybody, you guys talk about equity. You got to talk about equity of brands. Okay? If I know what equity of your brand is, or the equity of something, the equity of football, big, rugged, da-da-da. Gillette, the best a man can get. Pretty good tie to sports. All right? Think about that when you're matching things up. we'll show a spot here of Troy Polamalu, talent. And this goes for sports and entertainment in general. Talent's an interesting thing. We debate all along at our company, do they help or not? Talent being, the athletes, the models, the celebrities, the musicians, whatever. It gets debated a lot. They can be very helpful. They can be very dangerous. What golfer had a little bit of a bad episode a couple years ago? Tiger Woods. Okay. Guess which brand was attached to him at the time? Gillette. Okay. Guess which brand wasn't attached to him a month after that all came down? Gillette. Okay. A lot of others dropped him, right? Why? You don't want to be associated with that. So talent, he was awesome, boom. The only reason Nike Golf didn't drop him because he is their Nike Golf business, right? Without him, they don't have a freaking business, right? So talent, that's the truth, right? He built them from scratch. So talent, be careful. We have a clause in our contract, and if talent don't sign it, we don't use them. If you do anything criminal, we can drop you. If you do anything, so we have the lawyer, and then we have a paragraph that says, or you do anything that we deem that harms our brand, we can drop you. If they don't sign that, we don't use them. Because they're people. They do stupid stuff, especially in today's social media world. Oh my God. What does George Clooney say? Twitter is a microphone for morons. I love that. A little harsh, but there's truth to that. Okay, and then activation. If you're gonna, this is key. The message here for you sports marketers, who will get into this, is that activation is everything. If you go spend a bunch of money to be the NFL sponsor, you better tell somebody about that, right? You made that association to use it as a vehicle to tell people about your brand. So write it everywhere. Put it in your digital. Put it in your social. Put it in stores. Put it on TV. Put it on the radio. Use smoke signals. Whatever, that's why you bought it. Use that. Have a good activation plan. Unfortunately, how a lot of people play in this business, where the sports or entertainment is, they get excited. And our CoverGirl brand, I'm being filmed, so I better shop. Okay. There are people in our business who love talent. They'll say, I got to have them. And you know why they say that? Because that person's hot. And so I said, okay, fine. As much as I push back, I go get them for them. Here's the deal. You got to do this and this and this. And I said, you wanted them? Here they are. And then they say, well, I guess we better figure out what we're going to do with them. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's question number 3 or number 4. It's like, you need to figure out what you're going to do with them. You need to build your activation plan prior to going and negotiating the deal. Because when you go to that talent or that property, they're going to sell you everything they have. They'll sell you global rights. They'll sell you the Super Bowl. They menu it out as much as they can. They're all about maximizing their revenue. Well, if you're not going to use them in digital, don't buy digital. If you're not going to use them in Europe, don't buy Europe. If you're not going to put them on TV, you can get a lesser price for that. But figure out what you want first and have a good detailed activation plan of what you're going to do with that property or talent prior to cutting the deal. You'll save yourself a whole lot of money. Because the opposite happens too. Being a good buyer, we'll try to get the best and the lowest deal we can. We'll kind of cut some stuff out. They didn't tell me they want that. All right, I'll cut out digital. Well, we close the deal, and the brand comes back and says, we decided to use digital. How much leverage do you have going back to the property and saying, oops, I forgot to ask for digital, how much is it? They've got you, right? No. Negotiation is all about leverage, and at that point in time, they have the leverage. So, again, figure out what you're going to do with the property before you go. And in our world, retail is everything. We make money selling Tide. We sell Tide to customers. E-commerce is picking up. You can buy Tide and all our products on Amazon. But for the most part, we live and die at Walmart and Kroger's of the world. So what we do is take it to the retailer and have them help maximize it for us. So retailers are our best friend. When I got into the business 30 years ago, we tell Kroger, shut up and sell Tide. And they kind of would, all right? What do we do now? We beg them to sell Tide. Because they've understood their power. They've got private label brands. Well, I don't know what percent of Kroger's business is private label. It's been very healthy. Their margins on that business are much bigger than they are in selling Tide. We are very much tied together with the grocery trade. The power of that relationship has changed dramatically, and we're obviously dead without them. Okay? So, let me do this. Let me show, it's a little bit dated. I think it's like 2 years ago it talks about, but this is about a 2-minute video that kind of talks about how Tide effectively played
than the one he's relied on since college.
Head & Shoulders Deep Clean for Men. With 7 benefits, it goes deep to remove grease, skunk, and flakes. It's our deepest clean ever.
Deep. Like me.
Head & Shoulders Deep Clean. Live flake-free.
All right, so deep clean, that's their point of difference, right? Okay, so that's kind of the NFL. Before I go on to the Olympics, any kind of questions about that? At the end of the day, I can tell. Okay, all right. Let's run through Olympics really fast. It won't take nearly that long. We're big into the Olympics. Kind of what we did was, with Vancouver, if you remember back there, there's the USOC, the United States Olympic Committee. They have their own little USA team, you sponsor them. And there's a big IOC, which is the International Olympic Committee deal. Those are kind of 2 different levels you can do your deal. We kind of last minute got in on the USOC deal with some of those gymnasts and figure skaters and things like that at Vancouver. And it got us very interested. We thought, do we want to do a bigger, broader deal? And we did, and this talks about why. This is kind of like our synopsis of why we're in the Olympics, how we used it, etc. Those were actual parents rooting for their, that was actually, NBC gave us that video, that was actual parents rooting for their child.
I'm on thankyoumom.com sending a thank you message to my mom.
So showing all of the different ways we use the connection with the IOC to talk about it.
Having my family with me at the Olympic Games has been a dream come true.
They've taken such good care of my family. I don't know what they would have done without P&G.
I really want to warmly welcome all of you to the P&G family home. Families often can't go to the Olympic Village, and they don't have a place to get together, so we created this great family home that really was a gathering place.
We've shared a lot of great meals here and had a lot of fun and taken some great pictures.
It's been a great way to be able to share a commonality between these other families. It's been terrific.
It's not often that as an athlete parent there's perks, so this is amazing.
Families are refuging all over the Procter & Gamble family home.
A P&G called Thanks Meals of their advertising campaign during the Olympics. Procter & Gamble had reimbursed their loss.
See what Christy and P&G are doing at the Olympics.
When you get to do something that really does make people's lives better, that connects with you through your soul. And that's what it's all about.
I just wish there was a way that I could thank you all enough for the experience we had here and what it has meant to all of us.
All right, let me show you kind of one more spot, and then we'll talk about the Olympics. Let's go to the Olympics. This was an extension of that. So Thank You Mom was the basis we learned in London. Then we kind of built upon it with a different spin on Thank You Mom for Sochi, the recent Winter Olympics.
P&G, proud sponsor of moms.
Okay? A little emotion involved in that? For those of you who choose to be parents, this stuff makes you cry. Because I played a ton of sports, and there's nothing like watching your kid, whether it's in the sports, music, theater, arts, literature, whatever. I mean, it's emotional kind of stuff. So that's what we did. We had a creative agency called Wyden and Kennedy out on the West Coast that we challenged, helped us connect our brands to sports. They came up with this Thanks Mom. I will forever remember that's the first time they debriefed us on this. It was magic. It was like, that's brilliant. Every athlete has a mom. Mom is the backbone character. We can build on that. Our brands serve mom. It was just a wonderful, wonderful moment. Wyden and Kennedy, they're what they call boutique of a small creative firm on the West Coast. They do the ESPN commercials. If you guys, girls who watch sports, what's the latest one? The guy calls into a conference room with all the mascots at front tables. Anybody seen that one? Because they can't talk, right? It's kind of funny. Wyden and Kennedy does all those for them. They also do Nike's work. But they're our Old Spice brand. We kind of tapped into them for that. So again, the challenge is connecting your brands to the sport in a meaningful way. And again, the connection with mom was just kind of a mark for us. To kind of wrap things up, and let's get into questions. So listen to me yak. Again, sports marketing is, I tell the brands all the time, a P&G sports marketing initiative is a P&G initiative that just happens to have the word sports in front of it. Don't treat it any differently. Use all your processes, your tools, your measurements, your financial acumen, because otherwise you're kidding yourself. It's not different. It's only different if you make it different. Okay? That's a little bit about what we do. We got two big horses that we ride. We get as many brands involved. We try to activate it as holistic as we can. Retail is kind of the holy grail for us. But that's just our story. So, I'm done. Questions? It's been a long day and you can't wait to go home. Anything, sports, entertainment, marketing, what things cost? Sure, sorry.
How do you determine, say you have a new brand that P&G has just launched, how do you determine if that is viable to enter into the sports field and what, I guess you could say, like, hitting on like the Olympics and the NFL, like do you usually try and just play within those zones because those are your kind of the aces in the hole, so to speak, where you pull all your resources, or how do you really determine if that brand is in line with the arena sports?
That's a great question. The short answer is we've deemed that almost all our brands we can find space in either NFL or Olympics or both, because almost all our brands serve mom. However, to kind of get your question in different ways, how do you decide what brand matches what sports? We have a big group we call CMK, Consumer Market Knowledge, and they kind of deep dive knowledge about the consumer, which we think is a competitive advantage for us. And we actually sit down with them and try to do a profile of sports from a consumer standpoint. So we try to make it a little bit scientific to see what matches up, right? Because Gillette, the best a man can get, almost any sport could do that. Bounty paper towel, you know. So we try to put a little bit of science behind it. At the end of the day, a lot of it gets to be gut feeling, quite honestly. Now, you think about the starting point is what's the equity of your brand, what's the equity of the sport you're dealing with, and we went through and tried to rank the equity of the sports, football big and tough, badminton different, cricket different in India. Yeah. Try to do that. We try to make it as scientific as we can. At the end of the day, it's to be a little bit of a gut feel. That answer the question?
Yeah, and then like playing off the emotion within that sport, like the image of the rugged football player, then you could interject. I see there's a lot of comedy in these commercials, which is a great appeal to really help adopt the product. And I think that like kind of leveraging what the common misconceptions are about a sport, and with it too, is a genius way to position it and go about it.
Thank you. We try. Don't always get it right, but sometimes it works.
Oh yeah. When it works, you're a genius.
That's right. Yeah. When you don't, you wasted your money. Mm-hmm. Good question. Others? It wasn't that entertaining. Yes?
Do you have any advice for us, like seniors who are going into the career field soon, like as far as P&G goes, like for getting hired there maybe? Or like interviewing or applying or anything?
Great question. What's your major?
Marketing.
You're in marketing. We post everything on the web, is the short answer. I'll leave my name and number. If you apply for something, let me know, and I'll try to do some connections for you. But almost like all companies have done, we push everything to the web. If there's an internship, a full-time job in any discipline we have, it would be on the website. So just make that resume look as good as you can. The job market is shifting. We hired 1% of the resumes we got last year, I think. 1%. We hired 5,000, and we got, what's 99% of that? That's my help with the math. I'm tired too. Is that 5 million? Is that right? Yeah, we have 5 million applications. So it's at the top, but the job market's swinging a little bit. Don't give up. I'm a stupid farm boy from Southern King County. I got in, so give it your best shot. But look on the internet. If you find something, give me a call. I'll leave my name and number here. So I can make some connections for you. Okay? Yes?
I know that obviously the Olympics and NFL, they're seasonal. Olympics being 4 years and NFL being, a couple months. How much of regular marketing is allocated to regular season?
That's a very good point, because you're right. Some sports are seasonal, and you're losing the window. I don't know the percentages, but that's a great point. You got to take that into consideration. If I put all my money into this, and the NFL season is 5 months long, what am I going to do the other 7 months? So I don't know the ratio, but that's things that they need to intelligently think about up front before they divvy up their money. So that's a very good point. A very good point. I don't know the exact ratios of the brands, but you do need to think about that, especially the Olympics, right? That's part of the Olympics and kind of thing. FIFA is very expensive. When Gillette had FIFA, it's a ton of money. And the hard part of FIFA is it's only once every 4 years. At least the Olympics rotate every 2, summer, winter. FIFA's once every 4 years. And you don't even know which countries are going to get in, right? Only 3 or 4 months out do you know which countries qualify to get in. So people that spend a lot of money in FIFA, and I was in their offices because after we did the Olympic deal, which I was fortunate to be a part of, one of our presidents said, go renew our FIFA deal. So I flew to Zurich and we talked, and they threw a number on the table, and I about passed out because it was a massive number. And I said, when do we negotiate? And they said, we don't. That's the price. And it was several $100 million was their price. So we walked. We didn't want that. But that's part of the challenge of them is it's once every 4 years. You don't know if your country's in the game or not. Now again, if you're a global brand outside the U.S., it's king. It's king, queen, and court jester, all combined. So it has a massive, massive reach to it. But like everything, there's pros and cons to it. So your seasonality is a very good question about sports. That's part of what you're going to play with.
As far as what you're talking about, the thinking mom in particular, like Vancouver, that was the best thing that I think we saw. And then Sochi, we were like, oh, that's still really awesome, but it wasn't as new. How long do you expect, yes, like every athlete has a mom, and yes, they should be thinking. How long do you expect to play out those emotions versus like, when is it time to become something different?
Another great question. If you know the answer to that, we got some brands that love to hear it. Because that's a risk, right? It was magic in a bottle. How long do you ride that versus start over? Because if it starts to get stale, kind of stuff. So that's not a science. There's a lot of gut feel involved in that. It'll be very interesting. I don't know. I don't want to guess. I know when we signed up for the big IOC Olympic deal, they have 12 sponsors that have the global deal. Obviously, we're the only consumer goods. I think we're 2 Olympics down and have 3 more to go. So it'd be interesting to see how long they ride that horse. It's a lot of gut feel. And to be very honest, a lot of it is how good your plan B. If your plan B is good and you can't wait to get it out there, you might pull mom a little faster. If it sucks, sorry, the word, you might ride mom a little harder, kind of thing. Yes?
Since dropping NASCAR, have you guys thought about possibly picking back up with NASCAR since it's slightly expanding since you dropped?
I asked some of the brands out the other day, are they thinking about it? Yes. I'm not sure they'll jump back in very soon because NASCAR's, TV still drives the bus, and NASCAR's TV numbers are going through the floor. Now it was a high base to begin with, not compared to NFL, but NFL's in a league of their own. But NASCAR is Walmart and moms, and it's a wonderful fit for us. And NASCAR is eating a little bit of humble pie lately. When I was dealing with them 5 or 6 years ago, we offered them a big deal we thought was wonderful, and they just said, thanks, I don't need you. They're a little more humble now because when the numbers drop, they work harder to get sponsors. So I personally think it's a good fit. It'll be interesting to see if we get back into it or not. Good question.
How competitive is like the headhunting aspect of when you're going after celebrities and things? Are there other people there at the same time in the same room? Like, I want to know how that works, because I'm sure that as the celebrity, that would probably be a good thing to do for them, to get all these different companies that are bidding for their talent. Is that how it works, or how dirty does it get when you guys are in conversations?
It can get really interesting. Because the interesting thing, long story short, about how the entertainment world, we do like 250 major talent deals a year. And I didn't want to staff my purchase organization to do that, so we kind of have an agency help us. You got to stay in the thick of that business on a daily basis to know how much in demand they are. A celebrity has a couple cost factors. One is how popular they are, all right? If you're Madonna, you're going to get more than my sister, right? Because Madonna's a popular person. The other is what geography you're going to use them across. If you use them globally, they're going to want more money than if you only use them in the U.S., right? And then the other thing is how much of your time do they get? If you get Tiger Woods, for example, you get so many days from him. They just give you time, like we get 3 days. And he doesn't care what you do for those 3 days. You can have dinner with the CEO, you can go to a Walmart store opening, or you can shoot commercials. So those are kind of the 3 factors that drive that. The thing about celebrities is you got to stay on top of the market. The seen example is modeling. Okay, who just got the cover of Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue? Who does she date? You probably know who she dates. Derek Jeter's girlfriend. Okay. Her daily rate 3 months ago to today is probably tenfold. Tenfold. Okay? That's how quick that market can change. If I'm buying cell phones, it's a static price. BlackBerry kind of goes. Entertainment can go up and down like crazy. Tiger Woods' price was here. Now where's it at? A little bit down here. So it's a tough market to stay on top of. We hire an agency who lives it and does deals for 6 or 8 other companies to stay on top of it. Because it helps to know, back to your base question, you need to know how much in demand they are. Because they'll lie to you. They'll tell you. The Old Spice guy, the Old Spice, the half guy, half horse. I personally did a couple of those deals with his agent. He's a piece of work. He's a very fun guy to do business with. But demand, yeah. So you need to know that. If they're in great demand, expect to pay more. If they're not, it gives you leverage to drive the price down. Good question. Very good questions. Any others? Yes.
How competitive it is for the P&G getting like new markets like MLS or women's soccer?
How competitive is it?
Yeah.
Their popularity in TV coverage is this compared to the NFL, so the price is proportionally that much different. At the end of the day, that's kind of what it is. Those brands, if you will, the MLS, the North American Ping Pong League, that kind of stuff, is obviously going to be, it's just supply and demand. So if their reach and their impact and their fan affiliation is this compared to the NFL, expect to pay the price difference that way. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? It's all about what they're bringing to the table. And FIFA, that's why they ask several $100 million. They think they're bringing more to the table than any sports property on the planet. And for the most part, they are.
And how do you guys call like players to sponsor them?
I'm sorry, what?
How do you call the players, like bigger players to sponsor them?
I'm sorry, how do we choose them? Or
How do you choose them? Yeah.
That's not nearly as scientific as you would think. You try to look into their personal equity. Like Gillette still sponsors Roger Federer. Okay? You want your brand attached to Roger Federer. I've never met Roger. I know his agent. I've had a couple meetings with his agent. Roger speaks 5 languages. He's bright as the day is long. He's never does anything stupid on TV or Twitter, right? He's humble. He shows up on time. He gets it. So you want to affiliate yourself with people who match the equity of your brand. Now, for the most part, our favorite consumer is Bridget, Dr. Nichols, okay? 2 kids, goes to Walmart and buys Tide, Bounty, and Charmin. We love you. That's the bulk of our business, okay? The other, we have a few brands who are different. Gillette's more male-focused, obviously. We have Old Spice. Old Spice is a fun brand. My dad wore Old Spice. Okay? You couldn't catch me dead in that stuff. I don't know why, I just don't like it. And they finally figured out, they skipped my generation. They don't market to me. My son just reeks of it. He's a junior at Transylvania University, okay? And it was brilliant marketing. They said, we're gonna skip a generation. Because it's like, I don't want my father's, I don't want to swap my dad, thank you. So anyway, they're crazy. You know, how you market to a 19-year-old boy, you know, is different than how you market to Bridget, right? So that's one of the fun brands that we kind of play with. And so you want different talent for that. Old Spice sponsored Tony Stewart, for those of you who speak NASCAR. Okay, Tony Stewart. What's Tony Stewart's equity in NASCAR? Anybody?
Bad boy.
Bad boy. He shouldn't fight you, just drive with you, right? Old Spice loved that. They ate it up. They rode that hard. Tide would say, oh, no. Moms don't like boys who fight. You know, that's the way the world works. Old Spice, hit them again, Tony. You know? So you've got to match. So your questions are great. I'm not making like, it's like you got to match the equity of your brand, the talent you pick, you know, et cetera, to make sure there's a fit there, right? Great questions. Yes?
Is because like most professional athletes, their careers are kind of like short-lived, is it easier to like pick a signature something and go with it versus having someone endorse it, or does that make sense?
Try me again, just to make sure.
Like, because like an athlete's career is like short-lived, like, you know, of course, I would say exception of like Michael Jordan or something like that, like you can continuously use him, but for most people it's kind of like when their time passes, like it just passes. So is it easier to pick a signature something like the Old Spice character versus endorsing somebody, or you just kind of go with that moment and then just have backup plans?
No, that's a great question. I think that matches the seasonality of the sport. Athletes, especially football, what's the average life of an NFL player these days? I think it's less than 5 years, right? So if you hook your wagon to one of them, they're only going to be popular for a while. So my answer would be there's trade-offs. You know, when they're hot, they're really hot, you like to ride that. If you want a campaign that goes for a long time. The talent, SK2 is a very, very, very high-end, a bottle this much is like $100 in Asia. The talent we use for them, we've had, I think one lady's been with us for 18 years. Now, that's not sports, that's entertainment. But it's just a matter of pros and cons, to be very honest. There's whatever you think works best for you. Good question. Okay.
We have about 5 minutes left, so I want to thank you all for coming in and you all for good questions. And do you want to hang around for 5 minutes?
Sure, I'm here.